Hello, this is Dr. Natalie, welcoming you back to my channel, This Magnetic Heart. And I am going to call this new spring season session a new day, because that's exactly what I need, and I'm sure others listening could use a new day as well. When I started this channel 4 years ago, I started it on the first day of Nisan, and a lot has happened between then and now. I had to take some time off to really just refocus, recalibrate is a word I was given, but also to recover from the battles that I've had to fight over the last few years. It has not been easy. In fact, I'd say it's probably been the hardest time of my life. But I wanted to start this session back. I've been missing this channel, and I wanted to start this session back on the first day of Passover, or Pesach. And so this would be a good time for us to start a new day, because Passover represents crossing over. It represents a feast of liberation, a feast of victory, a feast of remembrance. It is in remembrance of when the Israelites were enslaved to Egypt, and God miraculously delivered them out of their bondage. And so Passover is very significant in crossing over, in passing over, and in beginning a new day. And so this spring season, I talk about the spring season being the reset button, right? So we follow along according to the Chinese medicine calendar. So spring is the reset button, time to detox the liver and the gallbladder. And then also follow along the Hebrew calendar, which is Nisan that we're in now, the first month of the Hebrew calendar. It begins in spring. And then also the Feast of Passover. And so we talk about the spring season as being a time to help us remove bitter roots. And I am working on another book right now entitled He Sees Me. And in that book, I talk a lot about bitter roots, because that was a very integral part of my husband's life, and ultimately I believe a lot of that bitterness contributed to cancer. There's a lot of research finally coming out now that we have a lot of quantum physics physicians doing research that is connecting the conscious and the subconscious with the brain and the neurotransmitters, and how the body deals with disease, or how the body heals. And so we're going to just see more and more and more information coming out about this. But bitter roots is very dangerous, or bitterness is very dangerous. And I also wanted to talk about malice and deceit, because one of my favorite scriptures that I have meditated on for years and years and years is a scripture in 1 Corinthians 5:8. And it says, "Let us therefore celebrate the festival, not with the old leaven, the leaven of malice and deceit, but with the unleavened bread of sincerity and truth." And so as we go into this Passover season, the Jewish people actually go through their home cleaning out leaven. And so they look through their home and where they might find leaven so they can remove it. And they eat unleavened bread, which is matzah. And they do this in remembrance of when the Israelites had to flee suddenly after the last plague. And God had given Pharaoh multiple opportunities to release the people, right? There's actually 10 plagues. And the last plague was the killing of the firstborn. And so God made a covenant with his people in Israel and said, if you will put the blood of the lamb over your doorposts, the angel of death will pass over your home and your firstborn will live. And that's because they had a covenant with the creator of heaven and earth. And Egypt did not want a covenant with God. And so they were open to that death and destruction. They were vulnerable, I guess you would say. They did not have that covenant. And the blood of the lamb, of course, we know was meant to represent or to give us a foreshadowing of Jesus being the shed blood, the lamb that was slain for all of us, so that anyone that wants to have covenant with him can have covenant with him. But as we step into this Passover season, as we begin to look forward to a new day, I want us to spend time searching our hearts on any roots that we may have of bitterness or malice and deceit. And I know I still have some to deal with. It's still really hard to just think back on the last few years of my life and how they went in a completely different direction. And today I set out to work in my garden to get the ground ready for the tomatoes and all the vegetables that I love to plant. And I just could not find any joy. It's always been a joyful time of year for me. I love to plant, right? We've talked about the garden of our heart. And so gardening is so close to gardening of our heart. Like, it reminds us of how we have to take care of our soul. And so as I walked around my garden today, it felt like instead of walking around a garden, I was walking around a cemetery. I decided it was time for me to reassess my soul and the soil that is in my heart. What's holding me back from being able to move forward? What's holding me back from passing over, from crossing over into that new day? What's holding you back? Let's take this time to reflect and to ask the Father to show us. What might be a source of malice and deceit hidden in the garden of your heart, in the soil? What seeds may have been planted? For me, I know it is still hope deferred. I have to really work on hope deferred, because I was in a season of my life of growing and blooming and building, and it seems like in one fell swoop, all of that was gone. All of it just vanished, evaporated, disintegrated. the pain of that loss, the pain and the heartache of dreams ending and what you're building disintegrating before your eyes, that will plant seeds of bitterness, malice, anger, frustration. And so when we find that we have those seeds of bitterness, first we have to recognize that they're there. And then we have to ask Jesus to come into that area of our soul or the garden of our heart. And just ask Him to come in so that we can give Him that pain, those wounds, all of the memories and the dreams, the plans, everything that we thought we knew going forward in our life that didn't manifest. Think about what dreams that you had that have never come to fruition, that have never borne fruit. Those dreams can become roots of bitterness. They've never reached maturity. It doesn't mean that they're not ever going to mature or become manifested. But when we look back and realize there's dreams that we had hoped for, and they have not produced a harvest, we have to let those go. We've got to pull them up out by their roots and hand them to Jesus. As God says, my ways are not your ways, nor my thoughts your thoughts. So as Hebrews 12:15 says, see to it that no one falls short of the grace of God, and that no bitter root grows up to cause trouble and defile many. Bitter roots or bitterness, anger, resentment, malice, deceit, and even hope deferred. These not only defile us, but they defile those around us, because it's like a poisonous plant. We can't produce the fruit that we need to fulfill our purpose and our destiny and to help those around us. We have to uproot what should not be in the garden of our soil and our soul. So I hope you will begin this Passover season with me, detoxing our soul as we detox our body and we detox our soul, so that these bitter roots do not cause sickness, disease, and even death in our body, nor do we poison those around them with our negativity and our inability to move forward. So I pray this spring that you will begin allowing the Father to till the soil of your heart again, so that we can plant what needs to be planted. And as we ask the Father to show us what roots are there, when we find those roots, we find out who planted them, what planted them, when were they planted. And then we can ask Jesus to take those from us and ask Him what He wants to put in its place. I look forward to seeing you again, hopefully tomorrow. Have a wonderful evening and a wonderful Passover, and let's look forward to a new day.